Hi everyone, welcome back to the Hollywood Actors Guide to Surviving the Film and Television Industry. This is Jennifer Lynn Warren, your guide to all the craziness that happens here in Hollywood. And today I wanted to talk about what's happening over at SAG-AFTRA. We have a very important vote coming up that's due very soon, so please get on it. And I want to tell you why I'm voting no. And if you do your homework, you're going to find out that 32.39% of the board is going to be voting no. And I think that is a high enough percentage for you to pay attention as to whether or not you're going to vote yes or no. And if you go to the SAG-AFTRA website, it's very easy to find all of the propaganda, and it's propaganda on both sides because that's how politics work, as to why you should vote yes. It's very easy on the SAG website to find all the reasons to say yes. But there's a lot of reasons that I am voting no. And these reasons are as followed. So actors rely on residuals. And for a long time, we had a fixed residual formula. But the new residuals that we're pretty much coming up with is a 90% reduction in the residuals that we will be getting. 90%. So this is going to affect, there's about 35,000 performers that are making their living as actors. And so this is very, very important. 1.5% of the proposed 2% pension and health increase will be deducted from your wage increase. So the pension and health that they are saying that they're going to put more pension and more health insurance stuff into your checks, that's actually going to be deducted out of what they're saying is your increase in raises. Think about that. Netflix, for our Netflix deal, and you know how much content Netflix is making, they achieved a 15% cap on what they have to pay, while studios can continue to apply, a significantly higher percentage. A lot of you guys out there are working background. They've only put one new background spot. And that means, if you're doing a union show and you need background, you have to hire a certain number of union background before you can hire non-union. And the last 28 years, background has actually lost 36 spots. So adding one spot back is not cool. There's no protection in the new contract for scanning. That means, and we've talked about this on the podcast, where they can scan your image and then they can use your image for digital doubles, which means if you work one day as background, they can just use your image like for what would have been 30 more days of work, but only pay you for that one day. They're pretty much giving away first class travel. It used to be that actors would be traveled first class. And when we're traveling, especially in the era of like COVID-19 and people trying to start to work again, I feel like that this puts our members at risk and is just being cheap in a way that's not necessary, New episodes of old shows are being prevented from receiving newly increased negotiated residuals, which is something we used to be able to do. The supposed elimination of grandfathering in the agreement is really, really vague. So for stunt people, the money and schedule breaks are ignored for features, and they're robbing stunt performers of cumulative overtime, and we've done no safety improvements. And if you're a friend of mine, you'll know that I very recently lost a really good friend of mine on a set. He died because there were so many safety issues, and with rehearsals and things like that, there's no reason for him to pass away. And it was simply them pulling money out of shows, and that's why he lost his life. So they are not really controlling new media. And if you know me, I have a love-hate relationship with new media contracts. I find that the money that we need to pay into a new media as a producer, if we want to produce our own content for insurance and stuff, is ridiculous. but there's still not allowing. So like if you are a producer with a lot of money and you're taking advantage of the new media contract, there's no 12-hour turnaround. There's no minimums, and shows under 20 minutes are freely negotiated, and they will not have most of our standard protections. So if you are a producer / actor, like SAG actor, and you're going into a new media project, just know that you're getting screwed as a producer because they're making you pay for all this stuff, saying that it's for the protection of the actor, but you're getting screwed as an actor because all the protections that you think you're going to have as the actor aren't there anyway. So it's really, the new media contract, I think, is just a lose-lose on all sides. Like the new media contract makes me so mad. And one of the biggest reason is because the freedom of performers to pursue future work remains terribly restricting. Guest spots are unfairly limited as well. And guest spots are where we really make our bread and butter. And they're just going away with guest spots. Roles that used to be guest are now being billed as co-star, and SAG is not doing anything about it. Actors are being put on unreasonable holds where you're just supposed to just kind of like sit around and wait to see if you book something, but you're not getting paid for that hold anymore like you used to, but it's just kind of expected of you. So we need to vote no and empower our negotiating team and our current leadership to go back to the table to get us a better deal, because this contract will be enforced for 3 full years, and that's a long time. And once we are out of this tragic pandemic, we need to make sure that our true values as performers is being seen and that we are being taken care of. And by the way, there's not much in this contract as far as protecting us from the COVID virus either. So I hope this gives you some food for thought. I hope you look into this more. So that's all I'm going to say about that right now, but just do your homework, guys. My vote will be no. Okay, guys, I want to talk to you today. Let's switch some gears and get on to some little more fun actor-y stuff, but still a little bit serious. And what I wanted to talk about today is how to stay raw and open in an increasingly unnatural world. We're moving into a world now where we're doing auditions and callbacks on Zoom through a computer, and casting directors are asking for self-tapes, and you're not getting into the room with anybody. And if you're like me, you're quarantining alone in your apartment and you're not having much human contact, and you're just feeling more and more isolated, and the world is becoming more weird and more unnatural. How the heck are you supposed to come out of this and do like a Shakespeare play when everything was so much different and there wasn't even any technology? And I know that was a big mouthful, but it's something to consider. It's something to be very awake and aware of, how your life is currently being manipulated by technology and how that's affecting you as an actor and as a performer. I find it very hard in these Zoom auditions. I have never liked, it used to be Skype. I've never liked Skype callbacks. They're so weird and so odd, and the lighting's like never good, and your computer camera makes you look kind of weird, and the sound cuts out, and sometimes there's a delay in sound, and sometimes you need to be subtle with your acting, and it's just not working. And what I would say to you is think of ways to get around this. Think of intelligent ways to broach this. I had a callback where it was a very subtle and very emotional scene. And right before the callback, I taped this scene again, because it was an initially a taped audition. And I taped it again, and I did it slightly differently, like I would at a callback. And so I went on to Zoom, I did the callback, And then I said, I'm feeling like this isn't translating. I know that you guys want to meet over Zoom because you want to know my personality, but I did do another tape of this so that you could see the performance done with a better camera than my computer camera and better sound. So is that okay if I send this to you guys right now? And you guys can watch it later. And they were very, very receptive to that. They're like, that's actually a really good idea. It seemed like the casting director jumped on the idea of like sending notes and having the actor tape again and then having the producer session so you could talk about the second tape and they can get to know your personality. So don't be afraid to take control of your career. This is your career that's on the line, and it's, you don't want to miss your shot. You're all watching Hamilton, right? So don't miss your shot when your shot comes around, and take control and just make sure that you're staying in a mentally healthy place. Read books. I forget who said it. It said like the person who reads books live 1,000 lives. The person who's never read a book only lives one life. So it's something to consider as an actor. You don't want to necessarily want to sit there and binge on Netflix all day. You want to open a book and let your mind reconnect. Even in your imagination, it matters. Reconnect with a real world and the world before COVID, and a world that makes you feel human again. So stay raw and open in an increasingly unnatural world. Here's a little fun little tidbit to add to end today's podcast. And that is that Ray Bradbury, who is an author, said that we should be sending artists into space. And if you follow Elon Musk and Tesla and you see all the rockets going up into the atmosphere, into space, and all the cool stuff that company is doing, what the privatization of space is doing, and we are actually making some leaps and bounds for, the next generations as far as what's going to be happening. But I want you to think for a minute why he would say that. Why would Ray Bradbury say that we would be sending artists into space? My answer has a little bit to do with this COVID thing that we're dealing with and going back to our isolation. It's very isolating in outer space. And if you're going up as an astronaut and you're on the space station for 6 months or a year, as some people go up and spend their time up there, they talk about, how beautiful it is, but also how lonely and disconnected they feel. And I think Ray Bradbury was onto something, that when you go and you're isolated, or you're isolated in your homes right now, that's the reason why the streaming services are doing really well right now, because everyone's turning to artists. They're even turning to TikTok and things like that, just because it's a new kind of entertainment and something else to do where they can entertain people, because people feel the need to express themselves and create. And I think that's why TikTok is such a big app, because it's an app you go on and you're silly and you express yourself, and it makes people feel better and more connected to the outside world. And so as you think about the loneliness of space and the loneliness of isolation and the importance of artists in individual societies and individual lives, realize that you are that artist and people are in isolation right now. So how can you reach out to them with your art and your truth and your words and your artistry to help support them in this time? And so that's it. That's all I have. I cannot believe it is July, guys. That is crazy. So happy July 8th, 2020. You can follow me on the Instagram at Jennifer Lynn Warren. I've been posting some pictures from my latest short film that I directed. You can also reach me at Hollywood Actors Guide on the Instagram. That's a little more geared towards actors. Until next week, guys, break a leg out there, and remember, you are not alone.